Today we're going to get started on making some of these really cool plaster masks. You're going to start off with a cast so you don't have to worry about the form so much. I just wanted to give you some ideas of things that you could do with this shape of a mask. The way that you can paint it, the way that you can add ideas and designs and patterns to your mask. I wanted to take a moment and show some non-examples as well. Ones that weren't crafted very well or painted very well, as I wanted to talk about non-examples. We need to make sure that these masks are appropriate for school. They don't need to be scary. Let's just make sure to keep it school appropriate. Thanks. Take a moment and get some tape to write your name on your mask. When you get your plaster strips, you're going to take your strips, set it into the mask form, and then I want you to take your finger and start making those holes in your plaster disappear. You might need a couple of layers so that your mask becomes pretty strong, but you don't want to have so many layers that it completely fills up the armature or the mask shape. When you put your mask plaster pieces inside, you want to have a nice coat, but your goal is not to completely fill the whole thing. To continue taking your finger and smoothing the holes from your plaster so that it becomes a nice solid piece. I'm going to continue doing this. Please watch this whole step. I know that I went pretty fast, or I fast forwarded it so that you could see every part of this without taking a long time. But my point when you start this project is that you want to add enough plaster so that it's thick enough and it won't break, but not too much to fill up the whole entire thing. You see, my goal is to completely cover the mask, but I don't want to have it so full of plaster that it becomes a rock. I just want a nice layer of plaster inside my mask without any of those holes from the plaster showing. You can fold it, you can mold it, you can bend it. That's what I'm going to do right now, is try to smooth in any other areas. And with the extra water that's inside my clay, or inside my plaster, I'm going to dip that back into the water container. You'll notice that sometimes it has a little bit. The other thing that I'm doing right now is I'm holding it up to the light. I know you can't see this just based on where the camera's at, but I'm putting it up to a light and I can see areas that need more plaster. When you hold it up for a moment, if there's any parts of your plaster mask that you can see through, add a little bit more plaster on there so that it's not going to break or be super thin. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm holding it up. I'm looking for areas that I can see through. And on areas that I can see through, I'm going to add just a little bit more plaster. One piece folded over would be great. Smoothing it together, attaching the pieces all together in one piece. Now, once I've got it checked over and I've got it to a spot where I think I've got all my pieces, I'll set it aside to dry. On to the really fun part of my mask. Once I've taken it out of the armature or the form, I'm going to go ahead and start adding on a base color to my mask. What I mean by a base color is just a solid color that I can place onto the mask so that there's no white showing left over. I started out thinking about what kinds of color choices would work well together. I'm choosing some warms and a neutral to mix together. Well, I've got my yellow paint on there. I'm also going to be adding in some orange just to make it a little bit more dimensional. Going back to the yellow for areas that I want highlighted, and I'm adding some oranges as well as some browns to give it that earth tone type color over the whole part of my mask. I'm going to leave the areas of my mask that come towards you, like the brow line, the nose, and the lips as a solid yellow, and I'm just trying to melt, or excuse me, not really melt, but smooth together these other colors so that it kind of looks like a three-dimensional form instead of one solid color. I'm just trying to accentuate that this is a form and how these colors can make it look even more 3D. It kind of gives me that more African tone as well. So I'm taking a look at some African masks to help me get started on making my details. Looking at some of these African masks, I'm going to be taking a very thin type brush right now and adding it into the designs that I want to create onto my mask. This is going to give me some visual interest, and I'm trying to make mine symmetrical just because some of the masks that I was looking at kind of gave me some symmetrical ideas. You might want to take a look at different kinds of masks to get inspired by a different culture or a different type of lines, shapes, and designs to add into your mask. Remember, masks aren't really faces so much anymore, but masks kind of have different designs and details that are added that are not like lifelike. They just have some really cool designs that you can add onto your project. And white and black can really do a nice job accentuating some of those designs. Let's go on to some additional items. I went ahead and I grabbed some raffia. With one piece of raffia, I'm tying it into a knot because I wanted to add this onto my mask. I love the way this looks. I'm going to go take a moment, get some hot glue, and glue it together. Other items you could use include feathers, maybe some glitter, some jewels or gemstones, and once you've got it, I think you're going to really like your project. Have fun, everybody!